Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. This is Shirley with Spirit of Matter, and we are in a cosmology episode. I haven't done cosmology in a while. It's going to be very exciting. We are towards the eclipse. It's Saturn's day, so we're going to call on Deneb Algedi. And it is Mars hour, so the hour of malefics. Woohoo! Yes, and Mars is in Cancer, conjunct in Sirius. So I'm going to call on Sirius and bring back the intention I set when we had the new moon in Sirius, before Sirius rising, the new moon in Cancer. And I'm going to say it again. Okay, what a girl needs just to be on mega yacht. No slaves, no pedos, just a man who hits the spot. Rob a bank for me, free mama from the mafia. We sipping pineapple and lychees now that we all talk. And that was very funnily on July 6th, which was Memorial Day, for the person who is inspired, together with Feynman, water expands upon cooling, Peter de Vries. So that was very interesting coincidence. And I've been sleeping on the many things that come around this eclipse. In particular, I was thinking of the role of the inversion of occult. And when I said inversion of occult, I mean the type of occult studies where you don't have honoring of what sacred energy is in all its form. For example, the sacred femininity, sacred masculinity. And when you don't honor that, first of all, medically, you get an inversion of the sciences, inversion of the medicine, inversion of philosophy, and inversion of the political practices, the juristic practices, and literally inversion of everything, okay? You're just not doing it right, okay? Any occult from any region that doesn't have this balance of equity, this balance of honoring those energies, okay, we call it yin and yang, Shiva Shakti, of whatever, okay, whether, and it doesn't matter which way the inversion goes, because it's going to affect both. Okay, if you're doing emasculation, you're harming the feminine, or you're harming yin. If you are doing a drying up yin, you're basically causing also dryness and inflammation and excess heat. So this is something that affects our physical body, our soul, our relationships. And I was contemplating, and I've already dealt with how that is a part of creation of world wars. I dealt with that way more naively before COVID. Now I see how a lot of these inversions are very intended, and the heart, the core of the inversion is basically to take the occult practice, but to have lack of equity around the energies. Okay, so for example, if you take Chinese mythology, which is a very redundant term to even say that, there's so many things Chinese, or the notion in Chinese philosophy that the sky punishes the earth whenever there is harsh weather. Or the overemphasis on the mandate of the heaven rather than the mandate of the land, okay? Because eclipses, solar eclipses, which is what would take down the leaders, have to do with both the sun and moon. The eclipse is solar, but it doesn't happen without the moon. And so the loss of the mandate of the heaven is also the loss of the mandate of the people and the mandate of the land, and the mandate of the oceans and the elements and so on. We can't give more emphasis to one element and less to one another. And this is also where the element come in, which in Chinese thought or occultist practices, also including metal, which could be equated to what we create technology. Okay, we use metals to create technology. We use waves and everything in alchemy, but metals is one of the first things we dealt with when we did alchemy, also in Western scholarly occultistic thought, which led to the creation of our sciences, both occultistically and in praxis. Um, and so we cannot, we cannot diminish for one thing without having the diminishing of the other. This is hermetic knowledge. It's simple hermetic knowledge. It applies, okay, to all things. Just like if feminist women want to, okay, social structure, if feminist women want to have rights for women, it's not about oppressing rights for men. It's about having rights for women, right? If men want men rights, yes, it's not about oppressing the feminine. It's about having men rights. And when we understand where the thing went off, is where we understand, okay, well, what needs tending to, what needs fixing. There are various ways to interfere in the system. But at this type of occultistic practice that is inverted on purpose in order to control for humanity, not nature, okay? The original role was to find your way in nature, okay, to work with nature and to create alchemy so that you can be more comfortable being a part of nature in the harsh weathers and so on. It's the natural technology. Just like you have this, I don't remember what is the name of this animal that builds its own house, okay? That's technology, and that's a part of the nature of of everything living, to adapt itself and adapt the surroundings at the same time. So that's also the nature of alchemy. And must do so with respect that most of us need to relearn. And so when we are talking about the inversion, or to create, let's say, and the problem is not about creation of hermaphrodites. Hermaphrodite is simply people that have both genders. This is something that has been known shamanically in literally every tribe since the Inuit, and the various genders, okay, that we lost appreciation for. And we are all carrying for the timestamp of the polarities of energies, which translates to various ranges around gender experience, and also sex experiences. People who are having multiple, okay, with both vagina and penis and so on, or none, and that's a part of the human species. So the problem is not about having, okay, for two genders, and it doesn't cancel sexual polarities as people predicted. No, it can create people that are just attracted to more than one person. For some people, they may be asexual regardless of their gender experience, and so on. So the issue with the hermaphrodite cults is the inbreeding, the rape, the child torture, and the various things that were created as inversion on anything natural, anything occultistic, and anything religious, in order to control for humanity. And so if you want to control for humanity, and you want humanity to always need a doctor, you must interfere in a way that brings to unbalance of system. Okay, so if you make it not okay to be a man, or not okay to be masculine, okay, then you're harming feminine. Okay, you're harming, if and it doesn't matter how. Let's say you define masculine as lunar. Okay, you define masculine as caring for your spouse. Okay, and you say it's not okay. It's not okay to care. Then what you're doing, you're drying up for whatever it is, whatever is the other polarity. You're drying up, for example, you're caring for yourself. Okay, your self-care. And the same is done, okay, with feminine. Now, those things interfere in fertility, but what they create above all is the lack, okay? the lack of growing with love, the lack of our needs being answered, which create various neurological problems, physical problems, psychological problems, spiritual acceptance of spiritual paradigms that are not aligned with what is healthy and nourishing for us. Okay, to go back to Louise Hay, she talks a lot about the importance of our worldview and religion to support our well-being genuinely. And I said what I said when I went to my dentist and I saw a book of Louise Hay there. It was very calming. Okay, even though she said to me, "Now I put fluoride," I said, "No, no, 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 no." But that was not a hurdle. It was just listen to me and that's it. So even if that was coming from for that medicine, the regular medicine and the holistic medicine, but seeing Louise Hay there was very calming and creating an environment where I could express myself and she would understand and just respect that, even if she has to sell push this, push that. Okay. Um, so so this is, for example, a good example of how even within a very corrupt system, where she's probably misinformed about fluoride, okay, just simply stating the truth, in the best of cases, I could still get a decent medical treatment, simply because the idea that our philosophical view, even of God, has to be supportive of love and our well-being. And that was not a strange idea to her. I guess from that point we could both agree that if people knew that a lot of the medicine is in our feet and in our teeth, then they would insist way more to get coverage for our genuine feet, holistic feet treatment, and a genuine holistic teeth treatment, which would allow her to not be tied up with so and so. But I didn't need to even say the next part, because we were on par with that. Okay, now let's go a little bit deeper, because that thing is not just your medicine or if you will have to remove a teeth, or the structure of the bones in your feet, which for most of us is not so aligned, but this, or your destiny and sense of satisfaction in life, but this is creating something extra, and that is where people are accepting of something they should not be accepting, both around themselves, first around themselves, because they grow into that, and then the perpetuating of that. Okay, so it can range from the easy cases, okay, the more familiar to the common ear cases, because most of you have not been intimate with the hermaphrodite cults or the hermaphrodites, okay, and so I'm trying to bridge the topic to you in a way that's easy for you to understand how it's affecting your life, even if you're not in these cults or intimately with the people in these cults, okay. And this is, for example, a parent to think that to beat the child is something that, according to religion, you must do. It doesn't have to be intense beating, but they think that to beat the child is okay, to smack your children. Okay, it's okay to smack them sometimes. Okay, whereas if they had approach to communication skills, it would be easier for them to do the parenting and for child to grow. And that can range even to more intense. Okay, I can say when I was a child, my parents were so proud that they're not beating me, and they were completely innovative. They were not taking any course, not that. They just made a decision. I don't want to beat my child. And I, as child, I didn't understand what kind of what's this North Korea? Okay, what the fuck is going on? Why is the thought of even beating child is crossing a parent's mind? Okay, the children around me, they were beaten, and sometimes beaten very harshly, so much so that the child remembers the parent taking the anger on the child, and beating them physically, and that affected their lives. It created for various traumas around the ability to touch and to be touched, to say no to touch. This already affects the sexuality, okay? So this is touching to every human lives. And when you would go to your gurus, to your teachers, to your rabbis, to your priests, to your this, to your that, and to your psychologists and to your psychiatrists, it would be very difficult to create a change, because your psychologist was beat up as a child and they are still growing through this. So imagine if your psychologist grew up into these secret societies where, okay, where you come to therapy, but your understanding that so and so and so and so is not okay for your upbringing is light years ahead of the very person that you're going to curate your childhood with. Okay? And so when we are talking about the people who make the decisions, they are still very controlled, okay, by bloodline, by many archaic views. And yes, blood is Mars, and it decides for what type of warrior you are. Okay, I have Mars in the 9th house, 22nd degree. It's not for nothing that when I went to my fatherland, I also encountered okay, the things that would inspire water expands upon cooling. And of course, 9th house is house of religion, house of higher studies, and indeed my warrior type tends to that. Okay, so my warrior type tends to the worldview and its role in shaping whatever experience is being addressed. Okay, so it's easier for me to talk about the hermaphrodite cults without, banishing the notion of the wide array of gender and sexual experiences that we have as humans. That is absolutely okay and can be practiced very healthily and nourishingly. So blood and name are not for nothing. Yes, I was called my middle name. Tali was chosen by my Dutch father when he saw the dew on the flowers in the morning, and the habit of giving a name to child that's coming from the environment is actually tribal. Okay, although it's not coming from tribe. Um, And so, of course, our names matter. And Mars in Scorpio, when I was in Netherlands and people didn't understand what Shirley is, I was trying to pronounce the name more locally, and they say Chili. So now, sometimes I call myself Chili. And that is a spice that's associated with Mars, but also with protection, okay, with occultistic protection. So I'm not downgrading the importance of Mars, and I'm not downgrading the importance of blood or bloodline. That's not the point. That being said, the decisions made based on that and the weight given based on that, because those things are going to happen naturally for a person when they practice their Mars. And indeed, I was when these things started to happen. And for these things, when they're practiced invertedly or they're practiced archaically, that would be very problematic, okay, to the person. And so, trying to recruit person based on their bloodline and so on. That being said, I must say there's some things that are not necessarily wrong. Okay, I do have performative qualities to me. I do have certain type of erotic intelligence, a certain type of natural whistleblowing practices. I just practice it in my way and not in the inverted way, and I get more truths. Okay, I get truths that other people don't get because they are fragmented because of these inverted codes, and I can share these truths even more so than others because I have this respect, not disrespect, but I have respect for the yin and yang, and sharing these teachings, actually assisting people even to get the welfare work for them. So it's very, very powerful. It's very, very powerful, very basic teaching. And we all have process to go, okay? towards this. And now we're going to delve a bit deeper, because in these secret societies where people are inbred and initiation, the role of hierarchy is being very practiced, very respected. Also, the role of programming and mind control is so much so that people have amnesia, and there's a natural tendency to dissociate when there's something really, incestual happening in the family. Even the person that's been through that has natural escapistic tendency sometimes, because they've been through that with person that maybe was also the person they have the loving memories with, and are emotionally tied to as infant. Okay, so this is, I'm taking the conversation away from me and into the elite cults, or what we call elite cults. And then we begin to have the gender polarity, the enslavement polarity. The one gender is more than the other. The not wanting to have girls. The and the treating of that which is conquered or oppressed, basically, as the feminine, the victim blaming, all these things where we dishonor of the feminine, all the while doing every right possible to be like the feminine, okay, which is the Seder, and I'm talking about in the cults, it's the inversion of the Seder, okay, and attempting to reach, spiritual mastery, and the belief that men cannot be as spiritual as women. Bogus. I'm sorry. Okay. The people who are more lunar or people who are more solar, and both of those are very spiritual or very intuitive. Okay, so yes, for some the intuition is more around emotions and stuff like that, and some more around the visuals. Okay, and when you're solar in your intuition, you see things. When you're lunar, you feel things. And that's but the sight and the feeling are both intuitive, and you could have women that are more solar and men are more lunar. It's really, it's really dumb fuckery to dishonor one upon the other, and then the one of the harshest results of that is what's done to children. Because when the dishonoring happen, the conception of babies, the intimate relations, if there is orgasm, then people think, then it's, I'm sorry, this is rapegasm. It's not orgasm, it's the arousal of the body during trauma, because the body still tries to protect itself, and the myriad of horrid experiences this creates for all involved. Okay. That of course created tremendous lack, and this tremendous lack is already lack in childhood. Any lack we have, we try to compensate for. And if we have society, children not allowed to have childhood, and there's tremendous suffering, there's drying up of the tenderness at the same time with extreme tenderness. So would have, if you think that person would be only not caring, no, they could be at the same time be incredibly caring. There's just this imbalance around where to care, when to care, how to care, and the complete emerging together with the complete opposite. And this is how you would have people that could be both tender and not at all. Or you have people that are on that polarity, okay, for some cases where people never got a hug from their parent, never got a love you from the parent. Okay, this is also something that can happen. Um, uh, but I want to emphasize that if the person is hugging or caring or warmth, it doesn't necessarily mean that there are not other things happening as well when they come up. Okay, this creates in more intense practices. There is a fracture of the soul of the child in order to create this. Okay, hermaphrodite thingy. I'm going to bring up stuff that Trudy mentioned, so it's going to get even more triggering for those of you watching and are in this cult or survivors of them. Then the really triggering part is going to come right now. So I'm gonna just wait if you need to, like, stop this video or not watch it. We're in 26 minutes. So you can write that in the comment for yourself, and that points out to the point where those triggers. Basically part of that creation, children born with rape, of course. Okay. And the creation is also subdued to genetic interference and cloning of children. Okay, which again, cloning in itself is not something good or bad, it's just the context in which it happens. Children are raped, tortured, electrocuted. The role of the electricity shocks is to create this fracture in identity. And several identities, emotional, psychological, are being installed, programmed within the child. Both of child assassin, child rapist, caring child, the representative child, the very empathetic. And those people are trained, some of them expandable, some of them will be killed. There is high importance on the documentation and creation of films around this, because not just for like scientific, which is not the inversion of science, but because those children are already involved in the films that one has to create with tortured children so that they can be extorted. Because to the face of society, they keep a certain facade that allows them to litigate a person for child abuse and make it like it was one personal pedophilia case. Okay, that allows them to do so. And it comes so much so that the solution that people try to find when they're political figures or grown adults that grew into being pedos, okay, that actually make offenses. It's not like they're dealing with their erotic drawing to children and try to seek help. There is no help, okay? The help would be to rape them again and torture them again. And one such person that didn't want to perpetuate crime against children, to rape children, was Ronald Bernard, and he was extremely tortured on his way out of the cult, and can still very challenges to say the names. Okay, he was a banker, top banker, which basically means top criminal. That's just the role of banking. This is just the nature of what is to be elite banker. And you can listen to him on YouTube. So for the people that grew up in these cults, okay, there's the inbreeding is incestual most cases, and then sometimes they would need to bring in biodiversity. So we have people that are breeded with colonialism, okay. And then of course they would be considered the feminine because they're not purebred. Like really, and the feminine is something that's undesired. The raped boy would be considered feminine. You have to understand everybody is raped there. Everybody. If the child is born, it is rape. Listen to my energy, read my voice. The child is born. Okay? These are testimonials. And if someone in adulthood even so much as insinuates that even so much is right out there, somebody that there's that this tribe or this religion mistreats children, women, or the feminine, then they are very much castrated. Okay, they are very much, and castration, by the way, is also practiced. Okay, genuine, like they're very much suffering even more. They're jailed even more. They're threatened even more because this, while it could both play to certain wars between, let's say, right now is planned to have war between Islam and Christianity, but at the same time, just because somebody insinuated for that, it's a window to understanding that wherever we mistreat children and women, there's susceptibility to be invaded. Then these people are, even though they supposedly that plays into the agenda, they're still being in higher risk for their lives because they basically are whistleblowers on what's been done in the cult. Okay. That's your politicians, that's your singers, that's your judges, that's your psychologists, psychotherapists, doctors, also psychiatric doctors, business people, that's your innovators, that's your religious gurus, that's your husbands. That's what they want, okay, for this to be that way. And that's your wives, okay? Um, and that thing creates situation when even when a person is highly aware, what they have to process is gigantic, and the nobody to support them with all, even when you talk about, if you think about outside the cult, rape victim, okay? So let's say there was arousal to protect the person from the further implications to the rape, okay, physical. Person can go years on feeling shame and not knowing how to get sexual arousal with willing consent, joined together, needing to have some sort of dissociation, affecting of the okay, thinking about themselves, okay, being insecure, not understanding why did they feel very ashamed of these arousal feelings. Okay, then imagine for when it's from children, the children raped, they have to rape. They try to understand their own tendencies, and there's dissociation because not all parts come up at the same time. And those would be your psychologists, those would be your theorists. Those theories would affect policies politically. Okay. Thought that some children just have natural tendency to be more violent, without the awareness that some of these children, and sometimes the writer themselves or even the politician themselves, have been gone under such torture that that's the way they bifurcated, sometimes even completely randomly. Okay. And the access to joy has transformed to something that's to do with torture. Okay, if you ask, are all these things reversed? Well, when I studied about plasticity of the brain, that was relatively new idea outside of the cult, okay, then there was this kind of convention that when it comes to sexuality, because they wanted to protect LGBTQ rights, which is important, there was this conception that that the person will be somewhat kinky, somewhat BDSMish, and learn to have that malleable thing as answer to the upbringing questions, okay? And that also relates to our relational style. Now, without downgrading that, because it does take a lot of awareness and so on, it's absolutely possible for a person to meet their needs, and their sexuality transforms simply because they're meeting their needs, okay? But if they don't have any therapy that supports that, and we see even plasticity models of the brain getting stuck when it comes to sexuality, because many things, but also the lack of support for alchemy within the self, where, of course, the sexuality is alchemized as well. Okay, the kinks, what they like, what they don't like, the ability to reach orgasm. Yes, and do not underestimate that. Okay, for people sometimes can have, for following orgasm flashbacks or grief or something like it's an emotional thing. That being said, it's important to understand that the environment has to support recovery, and the accessibility of recovery can be a lot grander. Okay, it's not to diminish the challenges of what it means to recover. So, but if you're a psychologist and psychiatrist, you're also inbred within the cult, and those are the people that you can go to. Okay, think about the right to exit violence. Then this is yes, and the doctors that disagree are silenced, and other things are tortured, are kidnapped, are raped, and rape can also be on energy level. Okay, sometimes they don't have to go all the way to physical. There's sometimes many cases. So the effect is basically the perpetuation and creation of child sex offenders, and those child sex offenders are your key figures, and mind you, they need to renew the films so that they can litigate. Because it's not like, oh, there's been so much time since the last offense, so they have to update. Okay, right now we are at the time where most of the things about the structure are going to be exposed, and there's always the desire to expose enough about the structure so that you will think that this is individuals that partook in parties, and you just want to off them, which basically is doing the job for these cults, because just like the SS killed the SA, you see a lot of SS symbolism, even amongst spaces where survivors of satanic ritual abuse are supposed to testify with red crosses. And this is doing the job for where we the people at the time of Pluto Aquarius would say, okay, off with their heads, and that's it. Whereas the next generations of decision makers is already being trained and are being prepared. The divisions are also in and amongst the cults. Okay, if you think about the children that would be the performers or the actors versus the grown politicians, there's rarely the knowledge that the person that rapes the child that is adult has also been the expendable children that they couldn't kill, or that they were training them, okay, in that way. And at the same time, in the rare cases, and I'm indebted for Trudy Verstegen and Lars, sometimes the children, the survivors, are aware that the person who raped them as child was raped as child, that tortured them, electrocuted them, was also tortured, electrocuted. And it is thanks to Lars that I know this, that allows us to break through for the division that is by design, because the stories are exposed by design. Satanic ritual abuse, just like the satanic panic in the 90s, where they had to replace some heads, is being exposed again. And this is where they want to create a one world religion. So they're going to need to off the people who create this, because they know too much. And that's particularly how it rolls. Whenever somebody begins to even show signs that their empathetic self takes over more so than expected, like helping a state witness, then it's risky to the system. Yes, so of course they can be jailed, they can be offed, they can be going through things, and it don't take no 9 days to die from a shotgun. So that's one of the things that occur. Whereas if we understand that there is no, oh, this blue pill or this red pill is more pedophilic than this other pill, or this people, or this celebrities, or that celebrities, okay, that's very literally all that these people trying to deal with what the upbringing and what the situation, what they're being put in the world to, for creating control over the entire humanity. And the symbolism is as follows. Okay, even communities online. Okay, we have online. Lower ranks don't understand, and the desire to think, oh, this is false witness, or this is this. Okay, the people who say this is false witness, this is already the people who are very likely, very unlikely not perpetuating. Okay, let's just put it that way, because there's victim blaming, then there is saying false witness, which is already, projection. But that is, the occult will not be studied at lower ranks as something that is damaging. Okay, it is the ritual. It is the ritual. And the inversion of the ritual and the division. So, for example, there's nothing wrong with learning astrology, okay? But if that is done within the perspective that the sun punishes the moon or something like that, then we have inversion of the sciences, and that is, okay, that this is where the problems come in. And inversion, it just means that one element is being considered, okay, more so more so legitimate than the other. Okay, that is for the situation. And yes, we're going to be exposed to a lot of things. Yes, when children kidnapped by welfare, this is what happens to them. When people go through mental crisis because of financial crisis or whatnot, this is for the medicine that they offered. When we consider which cure to give cancer patient, this is the heavyweight considerations. And you've heard my testimonial on that topic. And those issues are going to play a bigger role as we advance towards 2030. So if you ask yourself, is this country more pedo than that country? No. Was this person more pedo than the rest of the parliament? No. Okay. And the essence of the creation of sex offenders towards children is by torturing the children until they become these offenders. That's very simply put. Okay. If you don't like this truth, I cannot make it more simple to you. Okay. And it's done by purpose for creating control. And so that reality, that the exposure of pedophilia is done so that you wouldn't see the control over humanity scheme and the mind control scheme, so that people will remember the pedophilia, which is so intensely harsh that you don't even think about anything beyond that, and that's the purpose. So it's very easy for you to say, oh, this is pedophile, they must go. This is pedophile, they must go. Good, you did the job of when you did not save the children. Children will still be kidnapped, would still. Okay, you fill out the wrong form, you fill out the wrong rubric in the form, with money taken back, you're in the street, child taken from you. This is our child care system. If you agree to that, then your child is next. And then, because people wake up and they physically even cannot have children because they don't feel safe, because they don't find right partner, because they're aware of these things, because a survivor of these things for some, then they say it's okay to rape because we need to grow population. Listen to children that were born by parents when there was rape. To grow entire population of people who were born out of rape, as we had in colonialism, is, but also from within, okay? Very from within. It's not just from outside. It is first from within. The outside they go when they don't have enough genetic thingy for the seed to not to work correctly, okay, for have enough sperm count. Then there's colonialism. If you don't know this, then you would be basically the people who begin to leak. It's their heads that you would want to put on the guillotine first. Of course, you have to separate the children from those people. You have to separate the children from those people, but it's not the government that can do it, and it's not the pedophiles that can do it. It's a first to understand of the essence of the inversion of this cult so you can cure yourself. and create pathways for to access the cult, for to access the exit of violence. And that, unfortunately, is what they call the Enlightenment. Oh, because those that are marginalized in a tribal society, in a nation, in a place, in a village, in a religion, those are the people that the hermaphrodite cults are gathering. Come on, come to us. And what's done later, they can't get out because they already know that they don't have anybody who would believe them. Okay? Take, for example, ex-USSR sexpionage. Okay, her father thought she was going to be intelligence for the country, security of the country. She was raped. Can't talk to her father. Father thinks she's a whore. No contact with her father. That is what these cults play on. This is how you hear about the people who grew up from the gutter, from the rural areas, from the villages, where, what do you know, okay, for these things? You live with what the church says, what the priest says, and it's nice to gather in and eat some Sunday bread or something like that. And that's it. I leave you with that. I feel it's going to be very useful information in the coming months, even. Has already become useful. And will continue to be useful. Thank you for watching.